Sales avoidance is that icky, nasty, nauseous feeling we get right before we talk about money or need to ask or need to self-advocate. And that is caused by all the terrible ways that you have been lied to, manipulated, or sold to badly. Of course, a health coach is going to feel like, I don't want to hurt this person. That's wonderful. That means you are a fantastic person, but you contain life changing wisdom and skill. You should be compensated for that.
Welcome to Marketing and Mindset for Wellness Coaches, the podcast for health coaches and wellness entrepreneurs just like you who are building a business, making the world a healthier place, and designing a first-class life. I'm your host, Kim Foster, MD and certified business coach, and I'm on a mission to help you up-level your strategy and raise your mindset so you can truly thrive and grow your business. Let's get started. Have you ever heard the term sales avoidance? If you haven't, I bet you can guess what it's about. The thing is, so many of us have had really negative experiences in the past with salespeople, and there's a trickle-down effect when we start to build our own businesses. We vow to never be like that, which is honorable for sure, but so many of us massively overcorrect, which looks like avoiding sales altogether because we just don't want to be that sleazy salesperson. But you can see how this is going to be a problem in your business. If you're completely avoiding sales, then, well, sadly, your business is not going to make it because it's a business, right? If you're not making sales, then how are you going to make money? So you're condemning your business to the hobby category until you can figure out how to embrace sales again and make sales in a non-sleazy way, which is exactly what my guest today is an expert in. For over a decade, Annie P. Ruggles has harnessed her disdain for hard sales and tacky self-promotion, and she's used it as inspiration to help people find better ways to grow their small businesses. As the founder of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, she has guided hundreds of people toward making deeper connections and lasting impressions and friendlier, more lucrative transactions and conversations. Annie is a gem. She is a total riot and she is so authentic. I think you're going to love listening into our conversation. And if you're stuck in a sales avoidance spiral, then I think this episode is going to give you the help that you have been looking for. Let's dive in. All right, today I am so excited to be chatting with Annie P. Ruggles, who is the founder of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy. And she's also the host of the podcast, Too Legitimate to Quit. Welcome to the podcast, Annie. It is so great to have you here.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. I am excited and grateful to be here too.
Amazing. I can't wait to get into this conversation. I'm definitely looking forward to learning a whole lot more about your particular approach to sales because, of course, this has been a big struggle for many of my listeners, and I think they're going to love hearing some of your unique ideas and your take on all of this stuff. But before we get into all that, I would just love to hear a bit more about your background and your story. Like, what was the journey that brought you to this work that you're doing now?
Well, I have never been a health coach, but I have been the client of many a health coach, and I have been the coach of many a health coach. So I love and respect your listeners and what they do for the world. But for me, my calling, my purpose, my passion, whatever you want to call it, has always been in being kind of the fairy godmother for these coaching and healing practices and helping them stay alive in a super competitive world. And what that looked like for me was for about 10 years, I was a marketing and branding consultant. And I absolutely frickin' loved it because every cent and every minute that you spend on your marketing and branding is worth it. If and only if, and this is what I did not get, if and only if you're going to carry yourself across the finish line of asking for the sale. If you don't do that, you build the client up into the possibility of all of this gorgeous wholeness and wellness, and then you just sort of leave them dangling there. And that's what my clients were doing for years because they were modeling me and I simply wasn't asking. So that hit me like a truck when I watched my client struggle and realized it was because they were
Mm.
modeling me. And I thought, there's got to be something here. There's got to be some barrier between me and selling. And I'm going to figure out what that is. I'm going to figure out how to bust through it. Fast forward, I'm now exclusively teaching sales, teaching wonderful people how to sell like the gorgeous people that they are instead of how their nasty, sleazy, slimy competitors tell them they should.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love the sound of all of that. And I'm so glad that you answered that call and decided to do that because for sure there's so much need for it. And I'm excited to learn more about your approach. Like, let's dive into that actually. Talk to me about this concept of sales avoidance. When I was looking at your stuff, I read that you talked about that. So what does that mean? What is sales avoidance?
Sales avoidance is that icky, nasty, nauseous, I think I'd rather go lay down or take a shower feeling we get right before we talk about money or need to ask or need to self advocate. And that is caused by a whole bunch of different factors, but I call it sales baggage. It's a form of, you could also call it sales trauma with a small t, because I know that health coaches spend a whole lot of time talking about trauma. The trauma in this form is all the terrible ways that you have been lied to, manipulated, or sold to badly. It's also all of the baggage we have from when we had to sell stuff as kids or in corporate jobs before we were coaches, when we had to shove, solutions down somebody's throat. Maybe some of the listeners have been involved in direct selling or direct marketing. And as such, they've been handed a script that they need to stick to. All of that stuff sort of stays in our consciousness and defines what selling is for us. When the truth of the situation is that none of that nasty behavior is actually required. It's just the way that most people do it. And it's the way that it's sort of been passed down from generation to sharkish generation. But of course, if you're looking at the lying, the arm twisting, the manipulating, the over promising, especially for health coaches, tap dancing on the nerve of pain points or breaking the client down so they understand how much they need you, any of that lecherous stuff, of course, a health coach is going to feel like that is a huge violation of the intimacy and trust and emotion that they're trying to foster in that relationship. It goes against, whatever the Hippocratic oath for coaches is. We're like, I don't want to hurt this person. I don't want to abuse or mishandle them. Okay, great. That's wonderful. That means you are a fantastic person with your heart and your head in the right place. But if you allow that, then to say, and so I'm just going to keep giving and giving and giving and giving and never include myself in that success, then what happens is we cause our own health problems and our own business failures trying to prevent them for others. And that simply will not do. So that's what sales avoidance is.
That's such a great point. Like that's just I love how you phrase that. And you're right. Like it is like it's a form of trauma because we have all had those terrible experiences of either being sold to like we've all had that experience of like a pushy salesperson,
Mhm.
or had to be forced to like I remember having to go door to door and sell like chocolate covered almonds to raise money
Yep.
for the band. It was like torment for me. I absolutely hated every second of it. And I just wanted to crawl under a rock and die and not do it. And so, yeah, I'm sure that many people have had similar experiences.
But if you open the dictionary in your brain and you look up sales, those chocolate almonds are the picture in the dictionary.
Yeah, it's true. We do have this like picture that that's what it means. That's how it has to be and you just have to like find a way of just shutting down your regular human emotions and your compassion and just like go out there and do it.
Oh, yeah. And if I knew about selling what I know now when I was like an 8-year-old, I would have had my neighborhood on lock. Like I would have been rolling in whatever, coupons or skate parties or pizza that they give you as a kid. Whatever it is, I would be a mogul in it now. But just so that, since we're talking about childhood sales so strangely, I want everybody to not gloss over the part of my story that I was sales avoidant.
Mhm.
Absolutely nothing that I'm saying, I say with judgment or to tease you, even though I may sort of lampoon some of this information. I was the most sales avoidant person, I would not do it. I would have a 20-minute, air quotes, 20-minute discovery call that would turn into 90 minutes of free coaching. And then I would walk away and go, wow, what a lovely person. I think I helped someone today. And then I wouldn't be able to pay my bills.
Mm.
And that was my reality for years, until finally my calendar would be full and I would be miserable because I'd be like, look at all these freeloaders here to just soak up all my energy and just deplete me entirely. And I'm like, whoa, this is not how I want to feel about my clients. And also I had to stop and go, it's not their fault that I'm not requiring more of them. It's not their fault that I'm not opening the door. What am I expecting? Them to get a battering ram and beg me to let them pay me? No, that's not realistic. No, like trust, which is force fed to all of us, is only going to take us so far. It's critically important. But at the end of the day, if you went to a doctor and you went into the room and you said, hey, doc, here's what's going on with me. And the doctor said, I think you really need this prescription for such and such. And you're a little wary about getting a prescription, but they break it down and you're like, okay, well, it's not going to give me the side effects I was worried about. It's not going to conflict with my other stuff. You're right. I really do need this medication. And the doctor says, okay, and then leaves the room.
That's such a good analogy. I mean, obviously for me too, especially, but
Right. But if you took your prescription pad with you and you just bolted, then I would be sitting there with my butt open gown, sitting on that paper thing. And I'm really short. So I always have to kind of launch myself up onto the exam table.
Yeah.
So I'm like up on this pedestal, mostly naked, waiting for a prescription that never comes. Coaches, do not do that to your clients. Do not say all of these beautiful riches and wellness and wholeness is available to you on the other side of this gateway. And I'm not even going to tell you where the door is. This is not the secret garden, people. We have to open the door. We have to invite them in because 99.9% of buyers need to be asked to invest.
Yeah. That's such an important reframe. We need to dig into this a little bit more because I think that this is incredibly important. Talk to me about, because you sort of hinted at it just a second ago when you said the know, like, and trust. So what is, what comes after that? Tell me what your take on that is.
So know, like, trust is a wonderful recipe on how to be popular. But we are not in high school, Dr. Kim. Popularity doesn't provide a whole heck of a lot, right? If I go to a site and if I go to somebody's Instagram profile and I see that they are following more people than they're being followed by, gasp, well, they must not be very popular. Do I really care about those metrics anymore? No, probably not, right? But if you're putting out quality content and if you're putting yourself out there in an act of service, and if you're talking about pains and disease and all of these health issues with that grace and with that compassion, then you are going to build brand awareness. That's the know part. Show up authentically and transparently. That's the like part, right? Show your ethics, your values, your morals, and your style. That's the trust part. Awesome. You now have a fan. But what you don't have now is a client. In order for a fan to become a client, you have to invite them to the concert. Right? You have to tell them about the CD. A fan does not become a patron unless you give them an opportunity to invest. So what I always say is know, like, trust is absolutely true, but incomplete. The real formula has to be they know you, they like you, they trust you, you've invited them to invest with you.
That's gold. I love that. I love how you just said that because it's true. Like really, when you think about that, it is incomplete because, where does it actually end? There's nothing that happens at the end of just naturally at the end of know, like, trust. So for you, it's know, like, trust, and then invite.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because back in the day when I was not selling and when I was just being a giant marketing engine, I had never been so popular in my entire life. My Facebook birthday posts were assaultive. I was like, wow, I'm getting all these loving messages from people all over the world. Were any of them referring me? No. Were any of them giving me testimonials? No. Were any of them buying my programs? No. And why would they? I was doling out gem after gem all over the internet with nary an ask in sight.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. This makes a ton of sense. So now if we're talking about like how to actually correct that, like if you're a listener and you're thinking, oh my God, that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been like just generating all this feel good factor, but I haven't actually been making the ask. So how does somebody begin, to correct this or to work on this piece of things, Annie?
Oh, there's so many options. There's so many options in that, a lot of this is strategy, but some of it is mindset. And one of the things I had to get over is asking for my worth. And I'm not a money coach. There are a billion money coaches out there. But the way that I have always described this is no offense to her, but right now at this exact moment, Khloe Kardashian is getting paid to exist.
Mm.
She could be sitting on a toilet and her bank account's going up right now because she is paid simply to exist. So if Kim or Khloe or whoever I just said Kardashian, I can't tell them apart, by the
No,
way. If
can anyone?
they, I don't know, if they are getting paid to exist, why should you not be compensated for helping someone change their life?
Mm.
And specifically for health coaches, if you are offering up a new way of life and new potential for me, if you are helping me be my ultimate optimal self, why shouldn't you be compensated for that? What happens though, number one, is we start shopping with our own wallet and selling with our own wallet. And so we go, that person is in a lot of pain. They have chronic pain. They wake up every day. I don't want to charge them for that. I don't want to add money into the mix. They're already in pain. That same person trying to cessate that pain is going to go out today and spend more money than your highest ticket offer on a purse that they will use once and put on a shelf because it makes them feel good to invest in themselves in that way. Why are you saying you are less than a purse? Why are you saying you are less than a Kardashian? You contain life-changing wisdom and skill. You should be compensated for that. But one of the main ways and one of the easiest ways to fix your ask, especially on a selling situation, is to shut up, is to be quiet. Because when our anxiety creeps in, it creeps in this form of sales babble. So if your issue is not, I deserve to be successful, if your issue is not, I deserve to bring money and abundance into my life, then great. You're ahead of the curve. Your next job is to get in a selling situation and listen more than you talk, because that sales babble shows up when we are uncomfortable about either our own offer or our own price point. And it shows up like this. Dr. Kim, thank you so much for telling me all about what's going on with you and your back. I think you're really going to enjoy my radical new approach to solving back pain and feeling better and getting your vitality and longevity back. And, it's a 6-month program. I know that other people offer like a 2-week program or like a year-long program, but mine is like a 6-month program. And if you walk around the internet, some people have like a guide that's like $29.99 and some people that's like 20 grand. But for me, it's $2,000. My 6-month program is $2,000. It's $2,000 and that's US. And, it's $2,000. But you know what, Dr. Kim, you're a doctor and you probably have medical school debt because you're a doctor and that's really expensive. And also we just met and you just had me on your podcast. So how about $500? Is that okay? Or you know what? Why don't you just do it in exchange for a testimonial? Does that feel better, Dr. Kim? Yeah, that's right. How about a testimonial? You know what? Thanks for your time, Dr. Kim. I'm going to call you back on Monday.
That was masterful.
That's what we do. We
It's so
sound
true.
like lunatics. And these people that are relying on us, who are feeling so excited, wind up basically just Jack and Jilling back down to the hill into pain and sadness because they're like, dang, I was right there. I had money in my hand ready to give to this person. And then they just talked me out of hiring them.
Yeah.
Beloveds, please don't talk your prospects out of hiring you if they're right for you. If they're not right for you, then by all means, set that boundary, protect both of you, honor the trust that you've created by identifying that you are not a good fit. But if someone has basically been served up to you, ideal as can be, on a silver platter, why on earth would you think that it's in their best interest to dissuade them from partnering with you? It sounds ridiculous when I outline it like that, but that's what we all do, or we all have done to one degree or another when we're trying to protect the client. We're trying to protect the client from being mishandled, but we don't often notice that what we're doing is we're actually trying to protect the client from ourselves, and health coaches are just about the least threatening people on the earth.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to just like talk about what you mentioned about like, so if you're not making the ask and you're kind of like talking them out of it, they're spiraling back down into, pain and sadness. Can we talk about the pain and sadness piece of things too? Because I know that, conventional sales training or whatever talks about how you need to press the pain points. Like I've certainly seen that phrase, press the pain point. So, but we're talking about health and wellness here, and those pain points are, it's not so easy, especially for somebody who's compassionate and empathic and all of that kind of stuff. So can you give me some perspective on, or your thoughts on, how do you work that angle of things, like really open up that part of the conversation without feeling like a complete like nasty jerk?
Heck yes. Heck yes, I would love to. It would be my pleasure to do so. So, first off, I know that the listeners can't see me, but I am a very short, very round girl. So, for this example, I'm going to talk about weight loss and weight loss coaching, which I am constantly getting Facebook ads for and have used in the past, right? But if someone, and again, all of this is going to be exaggerated for effect, but you will be able to see the truth in this very easily.
Mhm.
If I go to someone's website, or if I get on with a coach and they're like, Annie, do you wake up in the morning and go, God, I look terrible. I can't even leave the house today. Am I going to feel good when I go to that website? Hell no. But if I also go to that website and it says, behold your beautiful, skinny future self, we can get there together. I'm like, okay, well, my beautiful, skinny future self feels like a million miles away from my reality, right? We don't want to Goldilocks this too badly. We don't want to hit the pain point and be a jerk about it. Hey, you, put down the cheeseburger, fatty. We don't want to do that. But obviously, health coaches, for the by and large part, no, okay, well, let's not be jerks. But on the flip side, what we do instead is we swing too far wide and we focus too much on the possibility and too much on the wellness and not enough on what's keeping us from the wellness. And when we do that, we look like Pollyannas,
Mm.
right? Again, we'll use the example I was on before, the world's worst doctor. If I go in to talk to the world's worst MD, and I say, my whole body feels like it's on fire. I can't lose this weight. All of my labs keep coming back just fine. And the doctor takes me by the shoulders and looks me into the face and says, Annie, someday you're going to feel better. And won't that be wonderful? And I'm here to help you feel that way. And then the doctor leaves the room.
Right.
I'm going to wonder what that doctor was smoking and how I can get a prescription for some. Like, what? But there is a whole giant lexicon available to you in between, hey, fatty, put down the cheeseburger, and someday you'll be thin. Hooray. And it's talking to the pain points with compassion. Now, the trick to this is, remember, if we're looking at the hero's journey, you are not the hero. The client has to be the hero of the story. Their pain, their current circumstances, their illness, their disease, their disorder, whatever it may be, is not their fault. That's the dragon that they're up against. Now, you as health coach might be like, hey, but seriously, put down the cheeseburger. And we can get there through trust and through compassion, right? But if we don't say to the person, hey, we need to look at your disordered eating, But look at all the temptations. Look at all the way that food has been forced upon you. Let's look at your family history. We're not villainizing anyone. We're villainizing the problem. And we're not saying only I can cure you, me, omnipotent healer with worldly and outer worldly powers. We're saying you have been suffering without support for so long, hero. And these things that you're up against are brutal and real and painful. And I know that with other clients of mine, they felt disheartened and sad. Some of my clients felt so ashamed of their weight, they wouldn't even leave the house. I certainly hope that's not your reality, but I understand if it is. It's okay if you feel that way. You're not alone if you feel that way. And what happens is when we take people in pain and we make them the bad guy, the pain increases. We need to instead say, let me talk beautifully and honestly about the truth of your pain, about the truth of your situation. Let me hear you and listen and meet you where you are so that I can hold space for your truth in that way. But I also just need to continue to pick up what's being put down and say, okay, based on what you told me about how you feel, based on how you told me about how you want to feel, based on you told me about your mental chatter, whatever it may be, I do believe that you and I are a fit. Let me carry you across this next part. Let me invite you in. Let me support you throughout this. But we cannot really form that bond if we don't listen or encourage them to open up about the pain. We look like snake oil salesmen. I drank this capsule and suddenly I have hair. Okay. That's not how this is actually going to work. That's how the diet industry especially has been preying on people forever. Take this magic pill, feel instantly better. Well, then they get put down. Don't do the same thing and say, hey, you could feel better instantly. You could feel better tomorrow. I hold the magic key, and not ever say, are you okay? This is tough. Opening yourself up, being vulnerable, being honest about your health challenges, that's tough. Why don't we just start there? Why don't we say, thank you so much for filling me in on these pain points? I know that they're not easy to talk about, and I want to treat them with respect, but in order to serve you better, I got to know what's really going on here. So please don't hold any details back. That's an entirely different conversation than someday magical fairies will heal you. Or, hey, fatty, put down the cheeseburger.
Right. I love that. That is just like that. You really painted such a great picture of that, like beautiful middle ground, right? It doesn't have to be like you described those two extremes. But there's such a like energy to that supportive, compassionate, yet specific middle ground, like really listening to them. Like, this is what I'm hearing from you is like, really, it's so important to listen to them and what their struggles are, and then speak to that specifically and with compassion.
Absolutely. And maybe for anybody out there saying, well, like, how do I show this or how do I do this on a website or before a call? One of the main things I love to teach is whether and maybe statements. And whether and maybe statements are a really great way for you to show your knowledge or expertise of where people are, and in a way that doesn't feel sort of like direct or over intimate or assaulting. So if you were looking at the top page of your website and you want people to know that they're on the right site, one of the things I recommend is saying, whether you are da 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 or da 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 da. By that I mean whether you have 20 pounds to lose or 200 pounds to lose. Right? Or maybe you woke up today and thought, I should just stay in bed because my back will not participate. Maybe you had a great morning and then you picked up your kid and it threw your day into chaos. Maybe your back only flares up at the very worst of times, like when you're driving or dancing at your child's wedding. No matter what the cause of your back pain, I'd love to talk to you about how we can get it to chill out, right? That catches people where they are. It shows them those examples. It shows the frustration and the emotion, but it casts a wider net so that they don't feel singled out. But immediately they understand, yes, that's me. Maybe they didn't pick up their kid. Maybe they don't have a kid. Maybe they picked up their dog and threw their back out. But I'm not going to go, well, I don't have a kid. I have a dog. I guess this person isn't right for me. We're still getting the gist of, yes, this person gets that pain flares up at the worst possible time, and that what I do when I'm in pain is beat myself up, and that makes it worse. This person understands me. I'm going to keep reading this website.
Yeah, that's very effective language. That's a great trick. Okay, I love that. Now, I just want to ask about the money piece of things, like the money part. I know. But I've heard from so many people that it's when they get to the money part of the conversation, that's when people feel like they kind of choke up and they don't know how to handle that. So is there a way to ask for money in a way that feels good for you and feels good for your potential client? What are your thoughts on that?
First off, if you're listening the whole time, then this is going to set you up perfectly to do my money and closing system. I'm going to tell you the whole thing right now. You're going to marvel at how easy it is,
Amazing.
right? You listen the whole call. Then you say, based on what you just told me about X and Y, and you use specific details, bonus points for using their own language to feed that back to them, right? So be specific. Don't just say you told me about your back pain. You told me about how sad you are that you can't go out and ride your bike because that's really been your happy place. See the difference? Right? Then you say, based on what you just told me, I think the best offering that I can provide for you is this. Then you explain the details of the offering. Then you go back to saying, because I think it'll get you back on your bike the fastest, right? Show them your work. Show the math. Why are you offering up this thing? Now, if you only have one thing to offer, it's pass fail. Great. If it's pass, tell me why it's pass. So now you have outlined the problem as you understand it, offered a solution, and explained why it's the solution you're offering. And then this is the kicker. You say, and the price for that is, and then you name the price. And then you say, how does that land on you? Or was that around what you were expecting to invest? Or is that reasonable and workable for you? You put that question to put it back on them. And then this is the most critical part. The most critical part. You put it back on them in the form of a question. And then sew your mouth shut. Turn your microphone off. I don't care if you have to leave the room. Get out of there. Do not talk. Because they need that precious time to think and to decide. And if you blab over it, you rob them of that space that they need, right? So again, the whole thing is listen, pick up details and language, use that details and language to explain what you're going to offer them and why. Explain the features or components of what that offer includes. Tell them what the investment is. Ask them if that works for them, and then shut up.
I love that. That's great. Like like you said, really simple formula, but I am definitely hearing that most important piece is to shut up afterwards.
Yes!
Like ask the question and then everybody has to have their own experience, right? They have to process it on their own time.
I'll give you one more example on that, just so the value of shutting up part. And I'll tell you kind of a intimate example from my own health, which is that I carry the BRCA2 gene and my dad is a breast cancer survivor. And we found out that I carry this gene literally the day my dad was going in for his mastectomy. So very high stress, high trauma day. And the doctor came out and pointed at me and said, you look just like him. You're next. I want to talk to you immediately. So already not great. Not great. My dad is like waking up from surgery at this point. And we go in and right off the bat, they say to me, Annie, you're going to need to nip this in the bud. Some studies say 20% cancer. Some studies say 80% cancer. So you should really start thinking about whether or not you want to keep your nipples. Now, here's why. And then if you do this procedure, and then if you do that procedure, and then if you do that procedure, and then you do this procedure, and then this will save the nipples, but the nipples are to have tissue, and then also the lymph nodes, and then everything else. And so what do you think you're going to do, Annie? I have no clue. I'm still reeling from the fact that my dad is in surgery. I'm not even thinking about myself. Now you've told me that I'm next and I have to decide whether or not I'm going to keep my nipples. And you blabbed at me all about nipple tissue in a way that I don't understand. And then you want me to make a decision? How am I going to make a life-changing health decision when I haven't even gotten to take a breath? I can't. Now, that doctor was a jerk. That doctor had no bedside manner at all. That doctor was just terrible. Blech.
Yeah.
Obviously, the coaches who are listening and the doctors who are listening are not in that camp, but we can accidentally hurt people by not respecting their need to make a decision slowly and deliberately.
Yeah, agreed completely. And it is a form of respect, right? Like being silent and being quiet and giving them that space, which is a coaching, it's a tenet of coaching is to give people that space, hold that space.
Yeah, and
Love
we're
that.
15 years later, and I still don't know what I'm going to do with my dang nipples. And I think I've probably set the record now for saying nipples on this podcast.
I think so. As you were talking, I was like, does this qualify for like, do I have to
The
change my
explicit
rating
tag?
on this?
No. You're a doctor. It's a medical term.
I know. I'm totally teasing. I love it though. I love how much you said nipple just then. Okay, that's so helpful and really gives like some visceral, examples to help people to really understand the energy of what you are trying to do and what you want to avoid doing on your conversations with potential clients. Definitely. I love that.
Listen, if I can say that word that many times on this podcast, you can ask your prospects for money.
Yes. I know. Why is it a dirty word? Like why is money like and just stating numbers? It's just it all comes back, I think, to what we were talking about in the beginning, right? That belief story, that sort of set of beliefs that we have about what it means to be selling and to be asking for money. And it doesn't have to be a dirty word.
No, it's just energy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, amazing. I love this. Well, this has just been so helpful, so amazing. I want to hear your details in terms of where listeners can go to connect with you. But before we do that, do you have any like final words of wisdom? If you just had one takeaway to give our listeners, what would that be?
Selling with compassion and honesty and grit will not violate your client in the way that you're afraid that it will. Neglecting them, turning them over to a coach who will care less about them or will show up with less honesty or less integrity, that's the way that we truly do harm. So coaches, first, do no harm. Sell.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, that is the perfect note to end on. All right, like I said, before we go, tell us where we can go to learn more about you and your work and connect with you and all of those things.
You are always welcome to go to my website, which is anniePruggles.com. It's basically a carnival of info. You can take a masterclass. You can listen to a bunch of podcasts. You can do whatever. But listen, if you have a prospect on the hook, or if you have a selling situation, including a networking event coming up and you just feel really nasty about it, I do not want you to go to my website. Ew, no. I invite you instead to message me directly on either Instagram, where I'm at Anniepreneur, or LinkedIn, where you just search for my name, and I will help you tackle that next selling adventure so that you can see how lovely selling can be in as close to the moment as I can. But yeah, if you're in active sales avoidance, reach out to me directly. Let me handhold you through this time so you can get out there and serve.
Oh, I love that. What a beautiful, like generous invitation. That's amazing. I love that. Okay, very cool. Well, this has just been such a pleasure, Annie. I've absolutely loved our conversation. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast and have an amazing day.
You too.
Oh my God, I hope that you loved Annie as much as I did. She was just so fun to talk to, and she had so many golden nuggets about sales, didn't she? Okay, I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you identify with the term Sales avoidance. Do you feel like you've got some tips now that will help you to conquer this problem and to get out there and serve your people? Let me and Annie know by finding us on Instagram, and let's have a conversation. You'll find all the links in the show notes. Okay, that is a wrap for today. If you haven't had a chance to rate and review this podcast yet, I would love you forever if you did that right now. Just hit pause before you move on to the next episode in your queue and do it. I really appreciate it. Okay, as always, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you again very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, if you enjoyed this episode and you're excited to take your coaching business to the next level, then I would love to invite you to attend my free online class called How to Build a Six-Figure Health Coaching Business Using One Signature Program. And that's even if you're a brand new coach. I will be revealing the 3 behind-the-scenes secrets to financial freedom without exhaustion, burnout, or being a slave to social media. In this free class, you'll learn the exact blueprint to having the impact and life you desire, even if you're not sure how to make it happen right now. I'll also tell you about the single biggest mistake new health and wellness coaches make and what to do instead. And I'll be teaching you exactly how to design a signature program step by step, including how to price your offer. And yes, I give you real numbers. To attend this class, all you have to do is sign up at drkimfoster.com/6figures and reserve your seat for free. I will see you there.